Alright, what's up everyone? Decided to do a top ranked TDM teams from 2016, 2017. You know, some of the teams that played at a elite level, some of the decent teams, some of the average teams that, you know, were just known for grinding ranked as well. Decided to do this video, you know, just to look back in the old days, considering now that ranked is pretty much dead. You know, the Uncharted chapter pretty much concluded for a lot of people. There's a lot of, you know, like I said before, a lot of decent ranked teams that played in ranked TDM days, but there's only been, in my opinion, like a handful of players that played at a really high level. It'll be evident when I list them later on the video as to why I believe so. But just to break down the video, I'm not gonna go by region. I thought about it, but thought that was pretty useless considering that there's a lot of players that, you know, mixed their team up with Edna, EU, and in like the Middle East. Basically, the metric I'm gonna use is team chemistry, win-loss ratio predominantly, and I'll also be discussing, you know, the overall impact a lot of these teams brought to ranked TDM and for Uncharted in general. Adding that bit is pretty important because I can go specifically through a lot of these players individually. You know, Uncharted 4 is more of a, you know, team game compared to Uncharted 2 and 3. You know, Uncharted 2 and 3, anyone that has played that would know that, you know, it's more of a run and gun type game. You know, it's easier to, you know, judge players on their own merits on those two games compared to Uncharted 4. But I'll definitely be talking about individual players, and it'll count towards the metric that I'm using, but not so much. Not more than, you know, the team chem and, you know, the overall like win-loss ratio that these teams had. In terms of like the top teams I'll be talking about in the end. Alright, so the first team that came to mind was Fisher the Wisher's team. Reason being is because, you know, they're known for ranked pretty much for, in my opinion, for the wrong reasons, but they also had a lot of game time compared to like a lot of the other mid-tier teams. So basically, the Fisher the Wisher team, it consists of Fisher the Wisher, Queen Hearts, Kingdom Blade, Cheryl, Firewall, B-Bex, and Dark Blue Jay. I think the core team, in my opinion, is basically, you know, Fisher the Wisher, Queen Hearts, and Kingdom Blade. You know, they often rotated some of their players. But yeah, starting with Fisher the Wisher, you know, he was, to be honest, you can tell that a lot of these guys in this team, you know, started with Uncharted 4, because I feel like the newer guys to Uncharted utilized some of the worst mechanics in the game, you know, that Uncharted 4 had to offer. You know, I feel like a lot of the Uncharted 2, 3 players didn't really have to resort to a lot of the BS that, you know, this team would utilize in their favor. So basically, Fisher the Wisher is known for using Copperhead as his main weapon. You know, he would essentially just run in a straight line towards you, dash C4s. Anyone that has played ranked or Uncharted in general in the early days knows that C4 is a really OP. It was really OP equipment. The blast radius was just insane. It replenished pretty quickly as well. With a player like Fisher the Wisher, it's just like, it's straightforward. Like, anyone, like, you can place him in a competitive environment, and any competent player can see through his playstyle. You know, and yeah, he was also known for streaming Uncharted as well. He used to stream Uncharted every day. I would say like he was probably one of the most like more well-known streamers on Uncharted. Another player is Queen Hearts. To be honest, nothing special to me. The way I look at her is, you know, if you have a fifth and you really need someone and you want to be in the matchmaking right away, like, you would just, you know, see her, she's by herself, throw her in. You know, didn't really play an elite level or anything like that. You know, to be honest, free cash when you see her on the map. But Kingdom Blade is another player. Kingdom Blade, the thing about Kingdom Blade, he's a Copperhead player just like Fisher, but he had the complete opposite play style compared to him. Fisher the Wisher, like I said before, Fisher the Wisher just runs in a straight line at you. Kingdom Blade is more reserved. He's more laid back, more slow. He likes to basically plant himself in a nice spot in a corner or even out in the open, because, you know, the game stats is just not there for a lot of these guys. And, you know, just lower that sense, put it to 2, and just like anyone that crosses peripherals, they'll just, you know, blast out Copperhead. Again, you put him in a competitive environment, you know, you can see through that bullshit. You know, you can put the skates on him as well. Cheryl, and you know, Kingdom Blade was also known for streaming as well for Uncharted, so there's that. Cheryl, I don't have an impression on him as well. I think I've only played against him a couple times. I think the one time I played him though was on Village. He got like a weird kill on me, started taunting me. Again, you know, Uncharted kids be like that. Firewall is actually a good friend. He's a good friend of mine. He's probably, I think, the best sniper on Uncharted 4. To be honest, he mastered that sniper, which was pretty hard. It's not sniping on Uncharted 4. It's not fun. Uncharted 2 and 3 was a lot better. You know, in fact, you can use you have like in Uncharted 3, you could have the sniper as your main loadout. You know, that gun was just that good, to be honest. You know, so yeah, Firewall, he has montages on YouTube, should check it out. Wemax, again, a player that I really don't have an impression on. I think I played it with him once, but yeah, known for nothing really. Dark Blue Jay is an OG basically. She's been playing since Uncharted 3. I've known her since Uncharted 3. She's, you know, really cool person. Probably like one of the better, you know, girl gamers that played Uncharted. Definitely better than Queen Hearts if you want to go that route and talk about specifically girl gamers. You know, she's better than Queen Hearts. She's a lot more competent, a lot more aware. You know what? She has a gunny as well. She uses, I mean, she often used the HS as well. She was also a streamer for Uncharted as well. So yeah, Fisher the Wisher, his team definitely a mid-tier team based off of, you know, their chem. They had strong chem with each other because Firewall told me that, you know, these guys came from Grand Theft Auto, so they've been playing with each other a long time. So they have the chemistry's there, but they didn't really play at an elite level. Reason being, they utilized some of the most cancerous mechanics on Uncharted 4 that didn't allow them to like progress as players, most specifically Fisher and Kingdom. But you know, they did a few times placed individually high in the ranked leaderboards, so of course I had to throw their name out there. And yeah, definitely a grinder team back in the days. Our next team is Wemax, consisted of Mouso, Roger Navarro, Ventricle, Dower, Crew, FG5. And Mouso, he played ranked, also played competitive. I think he used to play with like Chilling Anthrax and all those guys on UMG. But yeah, you know, this is definitely a definition of a mid-tier team. You know, I mean, none of them are really heavy hitters, to be honest. Mouso stood out compared to the rest. Roger Navarro was average, Ventricle average, Dower slightly below average. But you know, I guess if for percentile, they're like a 75% win-loss ratio team. Nothing too special, but I guess if you're having a bad day as a team, they could definitely beat you. The next team that comes up is Algoz's team. Again, a lot of these teams don't have names to them. You know, ranked teams they're not like competitive teams. They don't have official names, official titles or anything like that. So yeah, Algoz is one of those teams. Consists of Algozu, Mera Rules, the Kurdos Real, Psycho Mantis, Exenema. Again, could be forgetting some names here. These names are top of my head, but Algozu, man, Algozu was actually really good. I feel like he was an underrated ranked TDM player. Reason being is his playstyle was just so aggressive. You know, he chowed everything. You know, I think he played Uncharted 3, I believe. Uncharted 3 or 2, I forget, but you can see it in his playstyle in terms of the way he strafes. You know, he used to just like see gunfire, go straight towards it, chow the person, just strafe like crazy. He used to get like a lot of kills, but also would die a lot as well. But it goes to show the type of playstyle that he had. Mirror Rules was his, you know, the complementary player to him. His basically their sidekicks, you know, joint to the hip. You know, you would always see these two together. Mirror Rules, the reason why I say he's complementary to Algoz's playstyles because he's more reserved. Like, he's not as aggressive, but he's also a bit aware of what's going on. He's not, you know, like a terrible player of any sorts or anything like that, but definitely complemented his playstyle. Algoz's playstyle, because you know, if Algoz is dying a lot, you know, Mirror Rules is not really dying as much as him, so that helps the team as well. You know, Kratos for real. I don't know if anyone knows this. I mean, a lot of OG players probably know this, but Kratos real has been playing since Uncharted 2. You know, he played pubs and competitive, was high up in the leaderboards for Uncharted 2 and 3. He also played Uncharted 4 competitive as well. You know, he's one of the few players that has consistently played good and consistently played every like Uncharted game since like Uncharted 2. I think one of the few players is probably someone like Ice Cold Boxing or something. You know, he was definitely a good player. You know, nothing really bad to say about him. You know, Psycho Mantis, I believe, from the impression I got from him, definitely not the best player on the team. Slightly below average in my opinion. I played against him a few times. Honestly, can't remember the type of playstyle that he had. Most likely used HS, but I have no major impression of Psycho Mantis. Exenema, I played with him a few times. He's actually a bit of a sweat, to be honest. I forget what he used. I think it was a Metler, but he was pretty decent. Definitely fit well with this team. I think this is like a Spanish speaking team as well, I believe. But alright, anyone that has played ranked TDM should know of this team. They're called VMXC. Consisted of Zaxu, Super Sleek, Hardwell, and Style MX. The reason why I say anyone should know this team is because it wouldn't be a ranked TDM session without running into these guys like 50 times, right? I played against these guys, against these guys like a million times. You know, they're a super bipolar team. The reason why I call them a super bipolar team is because, you know, one day they played really well, and the next time, you know, they're just flat, you know, just dead, not doing anything, getting shit on. I'm not sure how that happens because their team chem should be really strong. I mean, it is really strong, to be honest, because they've been playing together for a long time, so the team chemistry is there. I think they played competitive with each other in Uncharted 3, so the team chem is there, but for some reason they're just super bipolar. I'm not sure why that happened, but individually I don't really have much to say because like they all don't really differ from each other that much. But yeah, honestly, super mid team. And, you know, I don't really have anything bad to say about these guys. They were like the classic rank grinders in back in the days. I believe I think they topped like top 80 or whatever in the ranked leaderboard, and that's just off game time. But yeah, that's pretty much it about these guys. Alright, next team on the list is Instant Classics team, which consisted of Instant Classic, Kid Cudi, Zaco Style, Nero MLG, Boogie Bounce, and Punjabi Stars. You know, this team is interesting because they're a mixture of players that have been playing Uncharted 2 and 3 and players that got introduced to Uncharted through Uncharted 4. So this is definitely an interesting team with an interesting dynamic. The funny part about this team is I remember back in the UMG, if you saw their team name in the ladder and you clicked it and you saw the roster, there was like, I swear to God, there's like probably like the whole Uncharted community in their team. You know, it's cool guys, to be honest. So I'll go through them individually, just to give you a better idea of what this team was. So Instant Classic, everyone knows Instant Classic. You know, he's a really popular guy in the community. You know, he was known for like streaming back in the days, and at one point he had like probably like the most viewers in Uncharted in terms of stream numbers. You know, his playstyle, he had a mixture of playstyle. He wasn't super aggressive, but he used a variety of guns. So he was like a hybrid player. So he used Copperhead, he used HS, maybe Foul, I think, or Metler. I think it was Metler in terms of a long range weapon, but I definitely remember him using the HS and the Copperhead. You know, super cool guy, played competitive as well, and yeah, probably the leader of the team as well. I would consider him the leader of the team. You know, Kid Cudi 43, you know, he's a really good friend of mine. I play different games with each other. Most recently, you know, Modern Warfare, Search and Destroy, you know, Demon Time. There's always Demon Time and Search and Destroy with me and Cudi. But, you know, Kid Cudi 43, man, I saw Kid Cudi, the first time I ran into Kid Cudi 43, he was playing with, you know, Myth and Shadow Knight and Randim, and I thought to myself, is like, you know, where did he come from, right? Like, he was like a new player playing with like a lot of these older players in Uncharted, but it just speaks true to him because he gets well with everyone. Everyone likes the guy. You know, he's definitely a hybrid player. He used, you know, Foul in HS. He was a really good Foul player. He got really better with the Foul, especially in ranked health days. The thing I like about Cudi was, you know, for two main reasons specifically. In terms of the game time, you know, he played a lot of ranked just to get better, and he did get better, and it was just nice. The second reason is just like nice seeing a player like Cudi like progress so rapidly. You know, I think in the early days he was more of an HS player, but as soon as he got comfortable and, you know, got comfortable with the gaming mechanics and stuff like that, you know, in the maps, and played with better players, you know, he transitioned himself to like a really good Foul player. Of course, he also played competitive as well, with Instant Classic in them, and, you know, it's always a laugh playing with Cudi. You know, really likable guy. You know, Zaco Styles. Thing about Zaco Styles, he had like two type of play styles. For ranked TDM, he was like a Foul player, and then he transitioned himself to an HS player for King of the Hill, which I kind of disagree because I feel like he was an even better player with the Foul. You know, he had his game sense. His game sense was there. He was aware of what's going on, and yeah, and, you know, he played Uncharted 3, known for Uncharted 3 as well. And yeah, it was just interesting, you know, a player like Zaco Styles like playing with people that just started playing Uncharted through Uncharted 4. You know, it was actually interesting seeing, you know, that type of dynamic through Zaco Style. Nero MLG, I believe he was a Copperhead player. Played against him a bunch. You know, he's a cool guy. like I would consider him to be like an underrated player for Ranked TDM. You know, he did his thing. You know, he found a play style and, you know, and stuck in that lane. Boogie Bounce is an Uncharted 2 player, I believe. You know, he played Uncharted for a while. You know, he loved playing with these guys, and, you know, personally, I don't, like, I barely played against him. The reason being is I think he was like EU, so like a lot of these EU ranked teams, I played against a lot of like EU teams, but like I didn't play against them as much as other people because of the time zone differences, and especially because of my work schedule back in the days in 2016 and 17. So Boogie Bounce, unfortunately, I didn't play against him that much to like get a big impression on him, so I'll leave it to you guys in the comment section. Punjabi Stars, you know, he was one of those, he was like Kid Cudi version 2, right? Like, except he was like younger. You know, he can get cracked himself. Punjabi was like, when he used to play Ranked TDM, he was a young kid. You know, kind of reminded me of when I used to play Uncharted 2 when I was younger. Punjabi Stars, you know, kind of reminds me in that respect. You know, he could get cracked himself. I feel like if he was a lot older, he probably would have been a lot better, but he was definitely a decent player. Alright, so the next team is another Spanish speaking team, consisted of like I had the Snake, Jean-Claude, Tommy NTT, Holy Rage Across, Sue DK. So this team, to be honest, I would consider them a mid-tier team, but not like a top mid-tier team, you know, because it's like not really the only player, to be honest, that stood out really well with the team was like Sue DK. But starting with Lakaha the Snake, you know, everyone knows Lakaha the Snake for the wrong reasons. Probably one of the most like toxic players on Uncharted. You know, has a grotesque personality. His playstyle is, back in the days for TDM, his playstyle was like he tried to be a hybrid player like HS and Foul, but the thing with him was like he didn't really excel at a high level when he used to play. Like, he used to get carried a lot. I remember even in King of the Hill days, he used to get carried a lot, even though now it seems like he's getting a lot of downs and whatnot. But back in the days, like when the skill level was like a lot higher, he would try to like mimic other players in terms of like using the foul and whatnot, and you know, it just didn't really work well for him. Like, he was easy to dismantle. The thing about people like Lakaha the Snake is like he would try his best to like beat you when you're not in the best position, when you're not playing with the best players, and he takes pride in beating even the lowest of the low player, like you know, a kid with no thumbs, right? Like, he beats a kid with no thumbs, he's happy about it, he uploads it. You know, he's just a grotesque player, terrible person, terrible human being. You know, I dislike him a lot, to be honest. Jean-Claude, again, players like Jean-Claude and Holy Rage Across, again, lower tier players, to be honest, didn't really stand out. I know Holy Rage Across used to use a low S. You know, again, like with a game like Uncharted 4, you only need to use a HS and Foul. You know, the Metler is a poor man's Foul. You know, it's nothing really special when you use a Metler. You know, using a low S is just, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, to be honest. You know, these players are not, you know, they're not nothing special, to be honest, man. Like, you know, Tommy NTT was a good player. You know, he did his thing. Not really flashy or anything like that. Same with Sue DK, not a flashy player, but something with Sue DK, he probably was like the best player on this team. You know, he played a lot better than those guys. He did play competitive as well, I think, a little bit with like Lakaha and Instant Classic. It didn't turn out well with them. Yeah, check out my YouTube video for that. Wink, 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 nudge, nudge. Yeah, so yeah, Sue DK, decent player. This team is just an average team at best, to be honest. Alright, so another lower mid-tier team, AR Arbitrage, consisted of AR Arbitrage, Die, Halo Expert, aka Assassin Hit, Weeman, and Trust a Savage, aka David Style. Now, I played Ranked TDM with AR Arbitrage quite a bit, to be honest. Early, I think, like, I would say like probably like late 2016, early 2017, like before he got banned. Thing about Arbitrage, he was a really good player. He was a hybrid player, of course. Used HS, Copperhead, Foul. Played really well with those guns. Played at a really high level. Was also known for playing competitive. He was honestly like I think he mained the Copperhead more than anything, but he was like the complete opposite of a player like Fisher the Wisher or a player like Kingdom Blade. You know, if he didn't get banned, I feel like he still would have been known as a really consistent, really good player. So yeah, you know, it was unfortunate he got banned, but you know, his reputation speaks for itself. Die, like a lot of the kids that just started playing Uncharted through Uncharted 4, you know, probably don't know who Dai is, but Dai was actually considered one of the best players on Uncharted 2 and 3 in terms of competitive. Played with Get Positive. For those of you that don't know, Get Positive was like Nitro and Triple Rec and Ice Cold Boxing and all those guys, you know, a lot of OG players. Dai himself is an OG, but unfortunately for Dai, he was a terrible Uncharted 4 player. He's probably, if I were to make a top 5 worst Uncharted player list, Dai would definitely make it. He would definitely make it in because, you know, he didn't know up from down, left from right. To me, it seemed like he was playing on inverted controller settings. You know, his game sense is not there, his awareness is not there. He's using guns that are just detrimental. Like I said, you should just be using HS FAL. He's using some like DLC weapon. You know, he really held this team down, but they're definitely a lower mid tier team because of it. But yeah, you know, it's just sad to see a player like himself known for being like a really highly skilled player from back in the days, you know, turn into like some, you know, like whatever he's known for in Uncharted 4 is absolutely terrible. Halo Expert, aka Assassin Hint, he was a Metler player. The thing, anyone that knows me knows that I dislike Metler players because I feel like I said before, it's like the poor man's FAL, easy to get kills, nothing really special about it. But the thing with Assassin Hit though, like he had like a lot of game sense. Like he knew what was going on. If he had to win, he's going for the win. You know, he played really well with the Metler, to be honest. Not to say that he was a difficult player to beat, but you know, he wasn't like, he's just a complete opposite of a player like Dai. Weeman, barely played against Weeman. I think he was like an Uncharted 2-3 pub player. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, I don't really have a big impression on Weeman. David Style, aka Trusted Savage, you know, I think he stopped playing around 2018, maybe 2019. I think he towards the end he played with like Captain Pikir and all those guys, but yeah, you know, he was a decent player. You know, did his thing. I think it was an HS player for the most part. Alright, so next team is Abyss Walker's team. Definitely a mid-tier team. Consisted of Abyss Walker, Syken, Rupinder, Stars, Absolute Ghost. You know, they're mostly HS players. They played Uncharted 3 as well. I know definitely Abyss Walker, or not Abyss Walker, but Absolute Ghost. I know he played Uncharted 3. I ran into him a few times on Uncharted 3. He's a really good player himself. You know, with this team, they're mostly, yeah, like I said before, mostly HS players. Not really hybrid. You know, Syken, I know Syken used the Metler, and again, Syken was probably annoying to play against because of it. You know, I hate Metler players, to be honest, but you know, the thing with Syken though, like he had the game sense, he had the call outs, you know, he helped his team, so that makes up for any of the Metler nonsense that I dislike. Abyss Walker and Stars, I believe they're like the Algoz Mare Rules combo. You know, they're joints at the hip, really good friends with each other. You can't, you know, they're inseparable, to be honest. You know, they strafe pretty hard, because I remember Stars, you know, playing against Stars a few times back in the early days. He had a really good strafe on him. You know, same with Abyss Walker, had a really good strafe with the HS. It was fun going head up against, you know, those two players. Like I said before, Syken, long range player, Metler, Rupinder, played against him a handful of times, played with him a couple times. You know, he's to be honest, like, no disrespect, but like I know I didn't play against him as much as the other players, so I can't really make a big like opinion on him, but I just knew he played with this team, so I had to throw his name out there. You know, Absolute Ghost, you know, really good friend of mine. He's a really cool guy, really good. He's a really good AHS player. He played with, like, I think a couple other teams, but I think mostly he played with these guys. Again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. Thanks. All right, so next team is Myth's team, which consisted of Myth, Shadow Knight, Kid Cudi, Randim. The thing about this team is I don't think I played against them in their full lineup, but I did play against them individually or like in parties of 2s and 3s. Decent players all around. So they're all, I think, all mostly known for HS. Thing about Shadow Knight, I think Shadow Knight, he used a long range weapon. I think it was a FAL, could be a Metler, but I believe he was a long range weapon player. Of course, Kid Cudi 43, you know, he was a really big rank grinder. He played with this team, he played with Classics team. He was a solid player all around. You know, Cudi, again, like a hybrid player. He knew how to use a FAL, he knew how to use HS, and you know, he's honestly synonymous with the word cracked, because if you played against King Cudi, his AIG is just off the charts. You know, you would think he's cheating with the type of Aegis aim that this that he had, and just insane, honestly, insane player. Randim, like Myth, played Uncharted 2. They didn't really grind it, like I don't think Randim grinded like Uncharted 4 compared to like these other guys. Even Myth himself, I think Myth stopped playing like late 2017, maybe early 2018. But you know, I played against these guys quite a bit individually in parties in 2s and 3s, and you know, they're decent players, really good players, honestly. Alright, next team is Atnix's team, which consisted of Atnix, Josh 10, I'm Phenomenal, Master Dank, and Manny Goldo. You know, again, another Spanish speaking team. You know, Uncharted ranked TDM grinders. They all played ranked TDM a lot. They all played with each other a lot as well. Again, I could be forgetting some players. Atnix specifically, this is like a second team he played with. But yeah, you know, Atnix was a really good player, really solid HS player. Played with Atnix a lot in ranked TDM, ranked Koth, and I played competitive UMG and eSub with Atnix as well. You know, really good player, really chill guy. He also played Uncharted 3. You know, he won like a couple of late tournaments in Uncharted 3 with I think Soccer, Skate, and Guptican and all those guys. You know, his game sense was there. You know, he had a big game sense. You know, knew what was going on. He was a hybrid player. You know, he used HS FAL. He was a really good sniper. He's probably one of the few snipers that is able to, you know, snipe even in competitive. Probably the closest player to him in that regards is, you know, a player like F9. I know F9 used to, you know, snipe a lot in competitive as well. You know, really solid guy. You know, Josh 10, for anyone that doesn't know Josh 10 or didn't really play Uncharted back in the days or follow the scene, you know, Josh 10 used to play on 3 tiers in Uncharted 3. You know, 3 tiers was actually a really big clan in Uncharted 3, really known clan. In Uncharted 4, Josh played a lot of ranked TDM. Didn't really stand out compared to like the other Spanish-speaking players that played this game. I believe he's Mexican, but you know, he was a rank grinder, honestly. To be honest, no disrespect, probably easy to beat, but yeah, that's Josh 10. And then the next player, I'm Phenomenal, a younger guy. You know, played with these guys a lot. I think it was an HS player. Master Dank, I believe, was a Metler player. Didn't really stand out compared to any other ranked TDM player. I personally disliked him. Didn't like his playstyle. Didn't like his attitude. You know, it's not really. He wasn't like really a GG type of guy. Like, you know, you would lose and then, you know, just taunt you and this and that, and it's like, you know, pretty toxic. Manny Goldo, don't really remember him, but I heard he played with them, so I had to throw his name out there. Alright, so the next team is Udai. Udai consisted of Moises, Nirvana, Marty McFly, Luis, Abel. I know for a fact I'm forgetting like 1 or 2 players. I played with Nirvana and Moises in competitive UMG, and I think esports, not entirely sure. Memory's fading, but you know, yeah, you know, cool guys. Uncharted 3 team. They've been playing for quite a bit, to be honest. You know, their chemistry is there. You know, they just play with the same core guys. I know now that, you know, they accepted more, you know, players into their clan, mostly Mexican players. But yeah, man, these guys, man, ranked grinders, man, ranked TDM grinders, ranked King of the Hill grinders, hybrid players. You know, they can use HS, they can use FAL, they can use Copperhead. Definitely good with the Aegis. You know, yeah, you know, yeah, Luis, Marty, Nirvana, Moises, Abel, grinders, man. You know. Alright, so this next team is a German team, all European. Roman, Manu, Dragon Gun, M11, 6, Mark. I believe I'm probably missing like 1 or 2 players. Again, like if I'm missing players, just say in the comment section. I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone. I'm just going off of memory. You know, yeah, it's just to break it down. I think between these guys, Dragon Gun is probably like the more well-known, I think, because of his ranked placements in the leaderboard. You know, to all the kiddies out there, you know, the ranked leaderboard is just like game time, basically. I feel like anyone that has a lot of time during the day and just like played with like, you know, played in a party, you know, you can place really high in the ranked leaderboard. It's nothing really impressive. I would just go by like I said earlier in the video, like by team chemistry and mostly by like win-loss ratio and by like tallying the amount of top teams you actually beat. And I feel like those are like better metrics to go by. You know, Manu, Roman, I think I played against Dragon Gun, I think once or twice. I think he was like with a he was with like BMW Power or some shit. Played with Dragon once as well. I played against Manu once. You know, I don't even think I played against Roman ever, to be honest. I heard he came from Uncharted 3. Honestly, I think this is just like a mid team, honestly. Like, You know, they can win their matches, but you know, if you rally the troops, you know, if you got good players to play with you, you know, these guys are definitely beatable. Don't really think they're known for competitive at all as well. I feel like, personally speaking, a lot of these EU players are mostly flashy players. You know, they don't really play like better than a lot of these North American teams. I think they're like one of the few like mid teams for EU that played ranked TDM. Alright, so the next team is MA, the Dark Legacy, Mokatar, Roxas, and Halmanja. You know, all decent players, to be honest. You know, did their thing. I know Roxas personally, he performed better compared to like all these other guys in King of the Hill. Did his thing there, has a lot of good uploads on his channel. Go check it out. I feel like, yeah, this is a beatable team. I think this is a mid-tier team, definitely beatable. I know MA, I played against, in terms of this team right here, I played against MA the most, and I think Kamanja the second. You know, I think Kamanja is an era player, but you know, Kamanja was really good with the HS. A lot of these guys are like mostly HS players. You know, they've done their thing. I think M8 was like a hybrid. I think HS and Metler. The thing about M8, he's probably the most well-known compared to a lot of these guys in the team, and so like even a lot of these mid-tier teams that I've named, you know, M8 was known for grinding Uncharted, grinding ranked TDM, really playing a lot, you know, just placing high in the ranked leaderboards as well. You know, I know he said it himself. He said, you know, some delusional shit about like farming Panic, farming Raptor, farming like all these teams. You know, he wasn't like that at all. He was like definitely an average player, definitely beatable. Definitely didn't farm any like top teams or anything like that, especially not King of the Hill. Yeah, you know, just definitely a mid-tier team, mid-tier Arab team. Alright, so the next team is Harris J16's team, which consisted of Harris J16, the creator, Atnix, myself, and Electrobong and Satoru. This is definitely a, you know, an Uncharted 3 team, because it consisted with a lot of Uncharted 3 players. Just to go specifically from player to player, starting with Harris J16, you know, played competitive in Uncharted 3, played competitive in Uncharted 4, you know, was a hybrid player. He was good with the HS, he was good with the FAL. In terms of competitive, he played with Novum. You know, they've placed, you know, decent, they had decent placements on, you know, 2016 ladders. They, you know, he's played a lot of competitive matches in Uncharted 4. He's also from The Last of Us as well. He played Last of Us competitive, played with with Tam, with Pumis, and I think Icelike Cooper. I believe they came, I think third. I think it was like third or fourth in Triple Rex tournament and The Last of Us, and they also had decent placements in the ladders for I think FN for Tilu. I think the highest they placed in the season was like second. Going on to the creator, I've known creator the longest in this team. I've known creator for a long time. I think over 7 years now. I've played with him a lot in Uncharted 3, mostly in Uncharted 4 though, to be honest. Because even back in the days I didn't have a mic. Got to know him better in Uncharted 4. You know, he's on Team Novum as well. Played like he had a hybrid play style as well. Played HS, played FAL, mostly FAL though. Creator was a really good player, a really good friend of mine. Anix, he wasn't Novum, but he played a lot with us in ranked. Played esports in UMG with Harris, so like it was like me, Harris, and Atnix, and we also played with like I think on esports with like Trex, Fendrix, and Snapfix. Esports Hub for competitive. Atnix is a really good guy, really cool guy. Again, like it was like 3 teams for Atnix, so he played with like the Phenomenal, the younger, you know, Spanish-speaking players, and then he played with like Dr. Joker and then of course he played with us. Next player, Electrobong. She was actually a really good player. She played competitive. You know, she's actually beaten a lot of competitive teams for Uncharted 4. I think she beat Imperial and all those guys. She has a lot of content on her YouTube. She's a competitive player by heart, because I think she played Uncharted 3 competitive as well, and she plays Destiny competitive currently. So she's a really low-key player. Doesn't really know that much English, so it's like, you know, that's why, like, another reason why she's really like low-key. I I think a couple of competitive matches with her on her UMG team. She's a really aggressive player, and I feel like in terms of your speak specifically on these girl gamers for Uncharted, she's probably, honestly, for ranked TDM, she's probably like one of the top players for a lot of these girl gamers. She was really good. I actually recommend you to check her YouTube channel. She has a lot of really good competitive content for UMG on her channel, and a lot of good ranked stuff as well. You know, shouts out to Electrobong. And lastly, Satoru's an Uncharted 3 player. He's a really good player, really cool guy. Unfortunately, like for Uncharted 4, like he didn't really play consistently that much with us, because when he's not playing Uncharted, you know, he's a doctor, so like he was like mostly on call, mostly busy with his job as being a doctor. And but he was a really good Valve player. He was a really smart player. I played Apex with him a lot, with Harris and Creator. And the thing about Satoru is like he's a thinker. Like his IQ is actually really high on this game. You know, he played smart. It's just sad that he couldn't play consistently with us. You know, back in the days. But you know, it was fun playing with Satoru. Alright, so now going on to Oscar's team. Oscar's team consisted of Oceanic players, European players, NA players, a whole mixed bag of players between ranked, even, and competitive. You know, a lot of these guys play competitive or ranked. They're known for playing in Uncharted 2 and 3 top teams, most notably Oscar and Blinky. Alright, so let's just start with Oscar. Oscar, she was an aggressive player, really one of the better girl gamers that played on Uncharted. You know, she's an OG in every sense, played for a really long time, played on top teams like SK. Just pretty much a bang out. You know, she grinded, ranked a lot, to be honest. She did play competitive as well on Uncharted 4. I believe it was with Wally, Havoc, and B-Rabbit, if I'm not mistaken. You know, she's a hybrid player as well. She can use the FAL, she can use the Metler, she can use an HS. You know, she was also known for streaming Uncharted as well. All around player, to be honest. Going out to B-Rabbit. B-Rabbit, I think he's like a French player. He streamed as well. Again, I've only had a few encounters with him. I think I've only played against him like twice. His other name is Scarecrow as well. That's his alt account, I believe. He was a decent player. I don't think nothing too special. I mean, he was just one of the few like EU players that just like streamed a lot, basically. That was also known for playing like in a team that played consistently together, but you know above average ranked player as well. I think like he primarily used an HS. Halcyon Havoc, aka Electrical Chaos, a really good friend of mine, known her for a long time. I met her like in the early days of Ranked TDM. You know, she played with like the OG team as well, as again, coming off the bench. You know, if the OG players needed people to play with, they definitely picked up Havoc. She's a competent player, really good, really good girl gamer as well. And Uncharted, one of the better girl gamers as well, just like Oscar. You know, hybrid player. She's good with the FAL, good with the HS, good with the Metler. You can definitely count on Havoc. You know, she doesn't really talk that much, but you know, she's one of the few players that doesn't need a mic, because she listens well to callouts, takes your callouts in consideration. Yeah, man, Havoc is such a cool girl. You know, I played with her on Apex duos. We done quite well together on that game. You know, she also plays Grand Theft Auto a lot, same as Red Dead. You know, she's an all-around good player. You know, Golden Eagle, again, I think he was a long-range weapon player. You know, he's a decent player. Same with Bandit. I think he uses sniper. I think he kind of played like Firewall Bandit. Definitely played like Firewall, I think. I think he was like a sniper as well. Pretty low-key player. I think he streamed as well, I think. He was a decent player. Blinky, everyone knows Blinky, OG player, played most notably for Phoenix. Played more competitive than ranked, to be honest, but I think he played a bunch with Alscroll and Havoc in them. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section below. Played against them, played with them. Played Call of Duty a lot with Blinky too. He's a really good teammate, really competent, really aware. You could definitely tell you that he played competitive for a long time. A really cool guy. Same with Wally. I've known Wally for a long time. Really underrated player. Really, his game sense is high. His communications on point. He played competitive in Uncharted 3 as well, most notably with on 3 tiers. He won a tournament on 3 with playing with 3 tiers as well. You know, 3 tiers is like one of the well-known Uncharted 3 clans, well-respected Uncharted clans. You know, he played competitive in Uncharted 4 as well. You know, Wally's IQ is up there. You know, he's an all-around good player, can use long-range weapons. You know, use the HS really well, strafes really well. You know, again, playing with him, playing with Blinky, playing with Alscrow, those 3 especially, you could tell that they played a lot of competitive. Again, Havoc, all-around player. Bandit, all-around player. Golden Eagle, really good. You know, B-Rabbit could hold his own as well. You know, this is a really good team. Part of the list is Tommy's team, which consisted of Tommy, ASW, C Romeo, Carlo Killer. This is a European team. I believe I'm forgetting like 1 or 2 players, and you know, my apologies. You know, again, like if I'm forgetting players on different teams, it's not just throw shade. You know, just again going off at the top of my head. You know, this happened, you know, almost 5 years ago now. But yeah, you know, just I'm gonna go from player to player. So started with Tommy Gun. You know, his play style is he's a foul player. You know, he complements his playstyle complements with a lot of the guys he's been playing with, because you know, while he's watching your back with the foul, you know, you have the more competent players like ASW and them, you know, up front with the HS, doing their thing with the HS. A lot of these guys are competent with the guns that they utilize. ASW, he was part of Riot, I think. He was, you know, played ranked, played competitive, part of Riot Clan. For those of you that don't know, like Riot was like Boscar and Lionel and ASW and all those guys, and Incubus TV, who's also known for ranked as well. C Romeo, I believe C Romeo is Spanish, if I remember correctly. ASW, I think ASW is an Arab player, but he played mostly with like Tommy and them, so like, you know, I guess they would consider him like an EU player by extension. C Romeo, I think, is Spanish. I think he played HS. I think out of this team, I played against C Romeo the most. You know, he was a decent player, could hold his own. The next player is Carlo Killer. Carlo Killer is another good friend of mine. Really good player. Really underrated. He was a really good HS player. You know, he was a mute, to be honest. I don't think he used his mic that much. I think the first time I heard his voice was like when we played Fortnite with each other way back in the days. You know, he was a really reliable player in Ranked TDM. You know, it's kind of unfortunate that he didn't really grind Koth as much as he did in Ranked TDM, but his game sense was really up there. He was really aware of what's going on. Knew how to use the ARX properly and all that. He knew when to buy purchasable weapons. You know, he also played with the OG group as well in terms of like just coming off the bench, helping them when they need like a player to play ranked with. And yeah, you know, this is a really good team, really good European team. Alright, going on to Suplex City, consisted of Nassif 19, Hassoun, Dal, Nawaf, Maldini. You know, this was an Arab team. This was a ranked and competitive team. You know, this team had really good chemistry. What wasn't easy to beat. You know, hybrid players, man. HS Fouls, player that I played with the most and against the most was Maldini. Maldini is a cool guy. You know, it was a pleasure, you know, seeing the way he progressed, going from like grinding ranked to like grinding competitive as well, slowly getting better, to the point where like he was actually cracked in competitive. I played against Suplex City a couple times in competitive. I think it was like against like Hassoun and Nawaf and them. I don't think Maldini was playing, but you know, this team is a really good Arab team. You know, not on the level of SL, but still really competent, really good, not toxic, chill guys. And yeah, it was fun playing against these guys. All right, finally we're going to the higher level teams. Again, the first half of the video just dealt with like, you know, top mid-tier teams, definitely mid teams and lower mid teams. You know, a lot of them are grinders. Definitely made a mark in Uncharted ranked TDM. And yeah, you know, for this top tier teams, you know what they consist of, you know, ranked and competitive teams. A couple of them played, you know, competitive more so than the others, but you know, these you know, great group of teams. I'm gonna start with SL. SL consisted of Douglas, Aziz, Roofswin, Faisal, Headshots. The reason why I put them as like a higher level team is because, you know, they were like the best Arab team on Uncharted, right? They filled the void the Saudi elite left. You know, they grinded a lot, honestly, for competitive. They played ranked quite a bit, to be honest. You know, they had a few memorable matches. The team consisted of, yeah, Douglas, Aziz, Roofswin, Faisal, Headshots, really good players, man. Played weird a bit, to be honest, but you know, They're like Val and HS players. They'll do anything to win, man. I know like in KOF there was like an infamous match where they played another team, and I know they like to say that, you know, other teams suicided against them to win, but you know, it's literally proof on YouTube that they're the ones that started it. You know, they, in order to win, man, they'll do anything, man. They'll suicide off a map just to win a ranked match, man. And you know, it's like typically some competitive shit like people doing UMG and esports, but yeah, they'll do anything it takes to win. You know, they pretty much dominated competitive on the latter part of Uncharted, you know, 2018, 2019. You know, it just comes down to game time, man. Like if you play a lot with your team and you know you grind a lot, of course you're bound to get better. You're bound to like beat a lot of the teams that used to dominate. But nevertheless, though, you know, gotta give credit where credit's due. And you know, Saudi Legends, you know, they filled that void for Saudi Elite, and you know, they're the best Arab team, honestly, on Uncharted. Alright, the next team is an NA team, All-American. Consisted of Exshot, Hassan, Fantastic, Arsenic, Kovo, Roach. This was a TLU team. You know, they came from TLU, came to Uncharted, adapted well. Probably had, for the beginning part of Ranked TDM, probably had the most chemistry than, you know, a lot of the teams that grinded Ranked, honestly. You know, they played competitive as well, you know, known for Ranked competitive. In terms of competitive UMG, most notably, they're known for, like, the TDM mode for competitive. You know, makes sense. Came, you know, straight from TLU. You know, the play style, you know, that they had, you know, translated well in competitive and translated really well in Ranked TDM. You know, this team is important to know about. This team is because, like, even though they stopped, I think it was like late 2017. I don't think they played early 2018 as a team on Uncharted. You know, they moved on to other games. I think Fantastic is probably the only one that just like kept playing longer. But it's important to know about this team because, like, not only were like they a top team in the early ranked days, but also they're the first. They had players that were the first to ever reach master ranked, and you know, of course, that's, you know, a pretty big deal. So yeah, let me go through these players first. You know, Exshot, a really good player, really good HS player. You know, really competent, really smart. Was with one of the most well-known streamers for Uncharted. Brought a lot of use to the community. Had a really good community. Has a really good community as well over on Twitch. Yeah, you know, he got partnership through Uncharted, I believe. You know, which is a great feat, especially in the community like Uncharted. It's really hard to get partnerships. You know, it's a really small community. But you know, Exshot's a really good player. Hassan is kind of like a he's like a sleeper cell, to be honest. Like he's quiet, not flashy at all. Does his job. You know, he's a really good HS player, strays really well. Played against him a couple times. You know, he's really hard to beat head up. The next player, Fantastic, man. Fantastic is a really good player. You know, he's one of the best in Uncharted, in my opinion. You know, if you were to make a I guess a top competitive player list or a top, you know, general list from Uncharted, Fantastic will definitely show up higher than most. Definitely his skill level compared to the other players on Scrub Central is incredibly high. He streams as well, streamed Uncharted, I think. You know, he plays at a high level, you know, in Fortnite and Apex and Warzone, pretty much any game he plays. You know, he's one of the few players that, you know, has a really high gaming IQ, but also a really good, he has really like good gun skills as well. You know, you add those two together, it's incredibly deadly. Fantastic is a really good player. Arsenic is actually the first player to reach master rank for Uncharted. I don't think a lot of the newer players know that. You know, Arsenic, again, not a flashy player. You know, played competitive with Scrub Central. I believe he has a couple of videos on YouTube. You go check it out. You know, really solid player. I think I played against him twice. You know, I think he was an HS player, if I remember correctly. Yeah, didn't play as long as, you know, some of his other clanmates, but he definitely made that mark, man. First master ranked ever on Uncharted, man. You know, and that was a TLU player, right? So it's really good. You know, Hovasun, I played with Hovasun, you know, Call of Duty. You know, we grinded with each other on Black Ops 4, to be honest, with like Chris and Blinky and Cuddy and all those guys, and you know, he was fun to play with. You know, he's a competent player. What I noticed in Call of Duty, like, he positions himself really well. He knows what gun to choose. and knows what he's comfortable with and stuff like that, and unfortunately in Uncharted I never really got to play with him, but I've got to watch him through Xshot streams. Hovo's he's a competent player. Didn't like, again, just like Arsenic, he didn't really play as much as the other Scrub Central players, but again, he was there for reaching Master Ranked early on with his team, and definitely have to throw his name out there. Really good player. Roach, I don't think I've ever played with him or ever interacted with Roach, but again, there's videos out there. He played competitive with his team, of course played ranked with his team, got Master Ranked with his team. Again, I barely played against him, barely interacted with him. Seen a few gameplay footages of his competitive days and some of his ranked days. Again, his reputation speaks for itself. Came from TLU. Alright, so this is a NA and EU team down the line, OG group / godly. So pretty much is mostly a ranked team, to be honest. You had Geppetto, Panic, Citronger, Chris Pro, Ice Cold Boxing. Two players that played competitive the most on the team was Panic and Ice Cold Boxing, of course. UMG Esports Hub, and they played with a variety of teams. Like with Panic specifically, he played with of course Legacy, of course CVT, Scrub Central, and Buck. And of course, you had Ice Cold Boxing that played with TDT and Buck. Definitely really good ranked team, really consistent. Probably one of the most consistent in Uncharted. Did really well in Uncharted Ranked TDM, and they did really well in Uncharted King of the Hill. Was able to adapt to different eras in the ranked days, to be honest. I know they played two ESL tournaments versus Legacy versus what was it? I think it was Brazilian squad. They won both, so two ESL victories for them. But again, like what I consider this like a competitive team as well. Not really, because again, it's just like the most players. The two players that played most competitive was Panic and Ice. What really set them apart from other teams, especially, was the comms, like the call outs. Helping each other out, winning those gunfights. But definitely hybrid players. Each player can excel with different weapons. Honestly, like you had really good HS players, like with Citronger and Ice and Geppetto. Then you had really good long range weapon players like Chris and Panic. They can use like the Copperhead, they can use the Metler, they can use the HS. They utilize Mysticals really well. And Geppetto, Panic, and I believe Ice a little bit. Ice streamed a little bit, but for mostly Geppetto and Panic, honestly, known for streaming as well. Brought the views into the Uncharted community. But yeah, man, really good team, really consistent team. Especially Ice Cold Boxing, like the way I mentioned with Kratos for Real. Ice Cold Boxing, a long time player, played back in the early days of Uncharted 2. Of course, played with TDT, played with Get Positive, played with 2Fly. Of course, played with good friends with Monster and all those guys, and won like a lot of titles in Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 4. I had to add this team into the higher tier because of how long they grinded ranked. They had a really good win-loss ratio, and as well as they added the aspect of stream sniping, where they actively stream snipe teams in order to play against them, which I thought was pretty funny. But funny for two reasons, because like not a lot of teams was doing that back then, but also it did bite them in the butt, where they would stream snipe and lose. But again, people win, people lose, but this team had a really good rivalry with the OG group, played each other quite a bit. Yeah, man, let me get right into it. So Dr. Joker, Atnix, Jesse, Axwell, and Cornet, that was a core group right there. Of course, they played ranked, they played competitive, but they were better on the ranked side more so than competitive. I think for competitive, it was mostly Joker, Jesse, and Inferno. I wouldn't consider him to be a part of their ranked team, because the names I just listed was the core team right there. You had a mixture of HS and Foul and Metler players, but in terms of long range, I think they utilized the Metlers a lot more. I know Cornet was really annoying to play against because of his Metler playstyle. Like I said earlier in the video, Metler is the poor man's Foul. It's just really annoying to play against it. But Nevertheless, though, like, you know, this team was a really consistent team, had a really good rivalry, really good chem. You know, they tried to, you know, replicate that in competitive. It didn't go as well as other teams that went from ranked to competitive, you know, like teams like Suplex City, but you know, they still made their mark, and I would still place them in the higher tier for Ranked TDM. Alright, so thanks for watching my video, and I'm just gonna let the video play out the honorable mentions. You know, the players that didn't really have a consistent team, or you know, just grinded duos, grinded trios, even grinded solos, but definitely should be mentioned in some capacity. So I'm gonna let that play out. But you know, thanks for watching my video. Of course, if I messed anything up, say in the comment section. If you disagree with me on anything, you know, write it down in the comment section. You know, again, you know, if I was missing players, or if I put people on different teams on accident, you know, I'm not trying to diss. You know, it's been almost 5 years. You know, I was going off at the top of my head, but yeah, peace.